Hello and welcome to another episode of Bible FPL, a review of Game Week 23, a look ahead to Game Week 24. There's a wildcard draft that I've chucked in, early into the video that hopefully provides some food for thought as to those of you that are considering wildcarding this week. I haven't completely ruled out a wildcard this week. I think it's a really nice window for it. You've probably noticed a lot of wildcard drafts out there at the moment online. And hopefully mine just provides a bit more food for thought and either sort of cements a few things in your mind, and maybe there's a few other areas that it can add to that are helpful. Firstly, in terms of how the main team got on, it's currently still live. To be fair, I'm recording this at half time in the Everton game. Unfortunately, Tarkowski's conceded, so I'm not expecting many more points now. But hopefully, he can get some defcon or something, and he doesn't concede anymore. I'll take 4 points if that comes in. Donnarumma clean sheet was nice. Mukiele, just what a legend. Honestly, he's getting a frame on the wall at this point, a photo on the wall at this point with them. The amount of returns he's been getting for me. He loses 3-1, doesn't get defcon, but still managed to get an assist for the goal they score. Anderson did well, 5 points. I was weighing up whether to start him or Bruno Fernandes. In the end, they both got the same, so can't really complain. The Bowen 12 pointer was really lovely. I was grateful for that. And unfortunately, Hall might lose his defcon after the update. Twanzebe and Dubravka returning for Burnley on my bench. You can't really be too mad because I was never really realistically going to play them. 40 points overall this week on the main team. We take it all day long. Now into the wildcard draft. Before I look at my transfer plans for this team moving forward. I've kind of started off with areas that for me are kind of locks if I was on wildcard or if you were on wildcard, sort of locked areas that I'd sort of first consider starting with. So those are Dubravka in goal, just the best value goalie all season. And he's doing well. Like, I honestly think there's an argument if you need to save money, just set him, forget him for the season, save like 1 million or so on another keeper, and just enjoy like all the save points he keeps getting. And the game he gets a clean sheet, he's probably going to haul because he's going to make loads of saves, get bonus, get the clean sheet. If he saves a penalty in there as well, like all it takes is a couple of like hauling games from Dubravka, and he could well end this season like as one of the top keepers in terms of points, and he's only cost 4 mil. So yeah, there's a shout out for Dubravka, and a consideration to just play him every week if you need the money. Gabriel obviously is a no-brainer. Mukiele, if you followed this series, he's been brilliant for us on the series. He's great for Defcon. Sunderland are brilliant for clean sheets at home. And recently he's been bombing down the right and getting assists. He scored a goal this season. Like, he's just a phenomenal value asset. So for me, that's why he's straight in the team. It's just like, what more could you want for that price as either an enabler or someone you can start when you need to? Declan Rice, just fantastic value for Arsenal. I think he's proving that he's better value than Saka in the midfield, so that's why he's for the Defcon and attacking threat. Bruno Fernandes, like, what more do I need to say on penalties? Talisman for United, they're coming into some good form, they're coming into some good fixtures. He just has to be in your team. Enzo Fernandez for Chelsea. They've got 4 beautiful fixtures now, and he's kind of the cheapest, most nailed way into that sort of Chelsea attack, which is why I really like him. And as proven at the weekend, he's on pens when Palmer's not on the pitch. So that's pretty cool as well with Palmer's injuries at the moment. And then up top, we got Mane for Wolves. Partly 'cause he's cheap and he's playing every game, and partly because they might have a double in 26. You could just play him in that. Haaland, even though he's struggling at the moment, I still just think you have to have him because we know what he can do. All it takes is a slight change of form, and he's at that sort of high level price that it's very hard to just rip your team apart to get him back in when you need him again. And he's the sort of player that there's not many reliable captains this season on FPL. When he's in form, he's one of the few that is reliable. So I think you've got to keep with Haaland, and it's also just too risky to go against him, I feel, with everyone else that has him. And then Thiago, I just think, is still just a brilliant value striker this season on penalties. And okay, we've got 3 trickier fixtures coming up, but then beyond that, it's really nice, and I think you just want him in for this run. Like, Bowen on the main team is starting to look good now he's on penalties. So he's another one like similar price to Thiago, where you could say he's actually quite close to Thiago now, but and he's their talisman and stuff, but I think Thiago just edges it for me still because he's that little bit cheaper. He's definitely going to retain penalties, and he's sort of always in the centre of the box, I suppose, whereas Bowen's sometimes playing on the wing and that. Although Bowen has been doing well for Defcon. Anyway, that's another place to check. I mean, Watkins is another one you could consider, but I'll show you why in a minute I don't have Watkins. You could probably guess why. We have got some Villa coverage, and no surprises for guessing who it is. So the next player I've put in the team is Chalobah for Chelsea. I just think, again, with those 4 plum fixtures that Chelsea have got coming up 24, 25, 26, 27. You want some defensive coverage if you can. And Chalobah's just the most nailed in that team defensively. He's great for DEFCON. He's, set piece threat. That's why Chalobah is the next man in the team for this. You could do Sanchez if you wanted to. I'm just worried that Jorgensen could take his place at some point. But if you want to free up funds, I'll show you how Sanchez could help with that in a bit. And Burmo, I love Brian and Burmo. I think he's a class player. Last season for Brentford, he was unreal. Such a talisman for them. And United with their next four fixtures, so their next run of fixtures really coming into Fulham at home in game week 24. I just really rate the guy, and I know he got hooked at 47 minutes, and I'm sorry, 67 minutes in their last match, and he might have slightly more reduced minutes than Fernandes. So if it's one or the other, I think you still go Fernandes. But I just think Mbeumo is such a potent attacking player. Like he knows how to score goals, and with United's current form and their fixtures, I just think Mbeumo could be a really lovely asset to have alongside Fernandes to get you some more points. So he's in there. Morgan Rogers, so that's the Villa coverage that there's no prizes for guessing, for his price, for the way Villa are playing this season, for the fixtures. I think it's just nice to have some Villa coverage, and he's sort of the best way of doing that in a way that's a bit more affordable than on Ollie Watkins, who also might have a bit more rotation now. I think Tammy Abraham might be signing, so I think Rogers is the one. Then we got Raya in goal. So interestingly, some of you might be, surprised at that. For me, I think it's tricky. I think Timber or Raya, two good options. I just think Arsenal coming up to a double game week soon. Ben White is looking a bit better recently, so I think Timber will lose the odd game. Also, the Raya, yeah, sorry, no, that the Raya Chalobah is actually slightly more expensive than Timber Sanchez, but yeah, I just like the security of minutes. And the other thing is, I just don't really love many other keepers, to be honest. It's like my main problem with Sanchez is if you play Sanchez, he's got four lovely fixtures, but then he's got some difficult fixtures after that, and it's like I don't want Sanchez beyond the next four games. Whereas Raya, I'd just happily keep for the rest of the season and just have that double Arsenal defence just in place week in, week out. And the other thing I like about having Chalobah instead of Timber is so there's a nice little sort of fixture swap. So Chelsea, they play their four plum games, and then after Burnley at home, when you want to come off Chalobah, Van Dijk comes into West Ham home, Wolves away, and just a really lovely run onwards to that. So you can just do a beautiful little swap from Chalobah to Virgil, and I think I just really like that as an idea. Like I know Liverpool haven't been thriving this season, but he's going to play every game. When they've got good fixtures, of course he's got chance of clean sheets, he's got chances of goals, he's got chance of some defcon. He's a decent asset, Virgil, and yeah, I just like the fixture transition there as well with those two. So there's a little one that I don't know, maybe other content creators haven't spotted that I'm lining up for my own team, whether I wildcard or not. Senesi's the next one I've got in the team. Bournemouth have a really nice fixture run, and I just think with Senesi, like he's guaranteed defcon every game. I think he's got defcon in like every game other than one this season or something ridiculous. So his floor is basically 3 points because they rarely concede more than three goals, and obviously if he doesn't get booked, that is. But that's not a terrible flaw. But then because they've got nice fixtures, my logic is surely they nick a couple of cleaners in that run. So if he cleans a couple of times and he gets defcon and maybe gets the odd bonus, like he's double digit hauling in some of those games. If he gets an attacking return, like he could monster haul. I think there's mileage here for Senesi over this run. All he needs to do is probably nick you like two or three clean sheets, or like an attack, like or maybe plus an attacking return. If he gets defcon in all of them as well and get some bonus chucked in. Like he does pretty nicely for you for 4.8 mil. So that's why Senesi's in there. And then finally, if you can afford it, Chris Richards for Palace. I know Palace are doing badly at the moment and they're in a bit of a difficult patch, but I just think he's great value at 4.4. And the other reason he's there is I think I'll just want some Palace here for these fixtures. Home to Burnley, home to Wolves as plumbers' houses. And you've kind of just got a Richards in place there. Like if you don't end up having any more Palace for those two games, at least you've got like a Richards to just play for the two of them. But I don't think he's essential. But I do like the idea of having some cheap Palace coverage in there ready for those games. If not, like Rodon, there's like a cheaper just enabler. Then this position can just be like a third bench enabler, to be honest, for this team, or second bench enabler. I think Rodon for Leeds is good value for what he offers and his nailedness. You could go down even cheaper than that if necessary. And then if you need to free up even more money to afford this team, this comes back to my Sanchez Timber thing. I think the benefits of Timber are he's a very attacking fullback and he nearly scored at the weekend and he has huge haul potential. So I think if you get lucky in the double game week that he starts both games, like he is a nice player to have in your team week in, week out. It just is, there's a Sanchez problem, I think, brewing for me. So you might want to go a different keeper. and then you might want to swap someone out for Chalobah, and then it requires a little bit of surgery to sort of make it all work. But yeah, if you swap those guys in, that's another way of freeing up some money. And then beyond that, like, there's obviously things you could do. You could drop Mukiele down even cheaper if you needed to free up even more funds. There's things you could do to save some money in this team, like even Thiago down to Calvert-Lewin if you had to, or something like that. But yeah, for me, if you can get to it, I really love this as a wildcard draft. This is the one that I'd go for if I had the money in the bank, I think. And yeah, it's half tempting to be honest for me to go for it myself. You kind of just got to weigh up like how bad is my team currently looking? Like, does it really need a wild card? If it does, I think you can pop this. And then if you can roll some transfers up to game week 31 for when there's a lovely sort of set of doubles and double game weeks and things, and you can have free transfer in the bank to still make it work without the wild card. I think there's definitely an argument to play it. But equally, come those double game weeks, I think having the wild card in the bank, you'll really thank yourself for if you can save it. So like I think it's worth even say if you needed to take like a -4 or even a -8 this week just to sort your team right out and get it close to this for this lovely sort of fixture and fixture swing for some of these teams, I think it's justified. So yeah, if you're on wild card, here's what I would do basically in a nutshell. Very quickly, I'll just slap through the other aspects of the video. So my team for this week. Very simply, if I don't play the wild card, I've been planning Tarkovsky to Chalobah to basically get some Chelsea coverage into this team for those 4 games. I've got exact funds to do it. It's partly why I went early on Bruno Fernandes this week, even though I benched him. And yeah, and then that'll be Chalobah in, and I'll have some coverage, and then I'll have hopefully rolling 25, and then have 2 transfers in 26 to get in a third Arsenal for the double game week. And I think the team will be good enough to get me through until basically to not need a wild card. There's areas I'd obviously love to change if I could. Like I think Ekitike, I still think could do well over this run with Isak out. Like he is their main striker, and Liverpool do like to score goals traditionally, so I think he could still come good. Bowen's looking better and better now he's on penalties. You know, I think the team overall isn't in dire straits, which is why I don't think I need a wild card. But obviously, looking at the wild card draft, there are players like Mbermo and Rodgers and that I would love to have. But I will make sure I get to Thiago in a few game weeks' time once they hit this lovely fixture run here, Brighton home onwards. So yeah, that's what I do. Yeah, that's what I'm going to do on the main team. Just Tarkowski to Chalobah, unless I end up sort of knee jerking to a wild card for whatever reason. Yeah, finally, well, I say finally, in terms of the Premier League stuff, the Bible FPL team, really pleased I went through with the Semenyo captaincy. What a legend, got the goal. I've benched more Dorgu points. I need to learn from that. Maybe he starts this week for the Bible FPL team at home to Fulham. Enzo getting a goal from the penalty spot was nice, and Chalobah getting the DEFCON was nice. Outside of that, there wasn't loads to report. Now, if you're a regular on these series, you'll know I do a short Bible talk as part of the videos, before I talk about my transfer plans for this team moving forward. So we use a player that returned on our team to inspire a Bible passage, and we use their name to inspire it. So Semenyo is our Book of James option. We're clutching at straws because there aren't loads of sort of justifiable James options, but James backwards is Semaj, and Sem is the first 3 letters of that. So he's our James option. Call it what you want. He is our James option. And Semenyo scored in the 45th plus second minute. So for me, that's the 47th minute. And James, chapter 4, verse 7, in relation to the goal time and the player's name ish, is this. Submit yourselves to God, resist the devil, and he will flee from you. Now, this is largely worded at Christians in terms of like, if you put your faith in Jesus, you believe there's a God that's with you, but you also believe that there is a devil out there that is basically author of sort of all things evil, and he's a tempter, and he wants you to do things to ultimately make you unhappy, but he makes the temptations look nice, and they ultimately don't lead to satisfaction, etc., etc. And the punchline is that if you're a Christian, just stay close to God, look to him. If you resist the devil in Jesus' name, like he has to flee. And there's an initial sort of thing. If you're not a Christian watching this, you're like, devil, God, like how powerful is the devil if he's real? Like, what is this? The Bible talks about how, the light of God is so much more powerful and greater than the devil. Like, as much as the devil is a very real force in this world, the power of God is like the planet Jupiter compared to the devil, which is like an ant. Like if you ask for God to come and protect you in Jesus' name, like the devil just has to flee instantly because God is so much greater. But at the same time, the devil is a very real force that wants to tempt us, and if we allow him to, like we can, fall down slippery slopes into things. And I don't know if you're not a Christian watching this, some of you may have had difficult experiences in life where you felt really tempted, you felt like you've had your back against the wall, you felt spiritual oppression almost, and you've started to question actually, maybe there is something more to life than just life. Maybe there is a spiritual stuff going on where things are more than coincidence and there are battles and there are temptations and there are difficulties in life where actually maybe there is a good and an evil, out there spiritually. Maybe there is a devil and maybe there is a God, and maybe there's a God that I need to turn to help me. I want to encourage you, yeah, like that is the reality. I mean, if you've ever come across things in your life that have made you question like spirituality, or you may have even been to like some kind of magic show and things have happened where you're like, I physically can't explain how that happened. Like something supernatural happened there. I'd encourage you, that's almost evidence for God, because if that's evidence for something supernatural, even if it was sort of a negative supernatural, well, then I think there's probably going to be a God, then, isn't there? That's a positive supernatural that's bigger than some of this dark stuff that's knocking around. So yeah, the encouragement is like if you put your faith in God, none of these difficult things can harm you. There's still temptations and stuff, but the devil has to flee if you look to Jesus. And yeah, if you're a Christian watching this, it's an encouragement to stay close to God, and you don't need to fear the devil if you're in God and if you're in Jesus. And if you're not a Christian watching this, well then look, ultimately, the Bible says if you're not for God, you're against God, and you're more prone to the schemes of the devil. And ultimately, like he wants to sort of blind you to the fact that God's real and help you to, make you live life in a way where you don't consider God, but actually God wants what's best for you. And the devil knows that, and he tries to deceive in ways that make you sort of turn your back on God, or just assume that God's not real, and or whatever it might be. But yeah, hopefully from seeing these videos in the past, you can hear that I've had so many experiences of God being real in my life. I know His love for me and His love for you as well. And yeah, you need Him basically, and He wants to help you in all sorts of things of life, including yeah, dealing with the devil and evil stuff in the world and temptations and stuff, and basically bring you away from paths that could lead you down really horrible, like destructive ways, and lead you to mental health destruction or whatever it might be, and lead you on a straight and narrow to good things, to wholeness, to vitality, to mental wellness, and security in God and His presence with you. And nothing can harm you if you're in Him and you're in His love. So, yeah, that's the encouragement. I appreciate that's quite a big topic, and some of you might be thinking, "What the flipping heck are you talking about there, James?" Please comment if you have any questions. I'd love to get back to you and help you on your journeys of faith. And for now, yeah, I'll move into just the final parts of the video. So, picking the team for the next game week on the Bible FPL team. I think the temptation this week, particularly with all the Mateta transfer news, like if he ends up going off somewhere, I'm very tempted to do Mateta down to Mane. So beautifully, Mateus Mane of Wolves, 4.5 mil. He's a Christian lad. He's called Mateus. We can be a Book of Matthew option. Perfectly replaces the Mateta Matthew option. It's like it's meant to be. And with those funds, I can finally get rid of Foden, and I can move him up to either Palmer, Cold Palmer that we like to call him, but with all the injury stuff, and also with the rank this team's at, like at 11.6k, I'm like, I think Bruno Fernandes is just a player we almost need in the team. And I said a few weeks ago, I'm thinking about like, what if the main players on the team are Christian, but there's a few players in there that you have to have, and Haaland's basically been one of those for a while, and I feel like Fernandes might have to be a second player that has to come in. He's not like professed online that he's completely like anti like Christianity or like atheist or something. And was I think there's a level where he wouldn't hate being in this series. Like he doesn't have a different faith or something, as far as I can see. So Fernandez comes in for Foden. I think that sorts us out in a way that this team needs, and it would also leave me with enough money in the bank to at some point I think do Lucas Perez up to the likes of Munoz for Palace, and Munoz is a strong Christian lad. And again, just like we know what he can do on FPL, and he's just a great player for this team. Would be a lovely differential. If not, I could afford Lacroix, who's also a strong Christian lad, could give us some Bible options, and would cover some of these Palace fixtures that are coming up. Basically, Lacroix's been class for this team. What's the word? All year. So whether it's Lacroix, whether it's Munoz, yeah, one of those might come in if I bring in the Bruno and I bring in the Mateus Mane. But yeah, the Palace player would happen in a future game week. I'd do it for free. I wouldn't do it for a hit. This week it would just be Mateta to Mane and Foden up to Fernandes, and then we work out what Palace player most likely would be the case to bring in a future game week. So yeah, that's the Bible FPL team. Finally, before this video is far too long, I always say I don't want it to be too long, these videos, because I feel like as a watcher myself, like I don't know, I tune in and out of people's videos and contents, and we all have short attention spans these days. So the final thing I'm going to say is this is going to be the shortest thing. Champions League fantasy football, because I can't really be bothered to do a different video on it. The experiment with the wheel spinner and stuff, for those that follow this, went absolutely terribly. Not horrifically. Few returns like Cherky, Elise, Saka. It didn't go great though. The team's in the mud. I think the season's over on Champions League fantasy football. So basically, we're not going to do too many more videos on it. We're not going to like analyze it too much. Just at the end of the odd video like this, I think I'll just say, look, here's how the team did. 33 points for this coming game week. Because all of the games are at 8 o'clock, we'll get team news for every single team. So I'm going to leave a lot of my decisions, I think, down to what are the team lineups? Have I got players at a bench that I need to take out? And then because of the FIFA FC26 content I did last time to dictate the team, I thought, let's do just at least a little bit of that for this team. And the little bit of that content is I opened a pack. I had one pack that I could open on FC, and I got Gimenez, probably Jimenez, of Atletico Madrid. So if he's starting for Atletico against Bodo Glimt, we will transfer him in as one of our transfers, and we'll start him in the team for that game, and we'll see how he does. If he nuts in a header and gets us a 20-pointer, we'll say thank you to FC26. But based on how last week went with the FC experiment, we're not expecting much. So yeah, we'll see how it does, and I'll probably feedback at some point, really briefly, how it went. For those that are remotely interested, right, we'll leave the video there. Like I said, before it's too long, please do like and subscribe for more if you found this interesting, helpful, etc., etc. Thanks for all the support on the channel. It's always really appreciated. But for now, yeah, I hope your Game Week 24s are great. Really huge fixture swing this one, so it's going to be very interesting to see how people's teams pan out over the coming game weeks. So yeah, I hope you guys can make the right decisions. I hope your arrows are green. For now, yeah, we'll leave it there, and we'll look forward to catching you all on the next one.